Now we'll practice a special pose to help us learn how to internally rotate at the very tops of the thighs. And this is important in setting up the pelvis as a pelvis that will allow a spine to be erect. So wrap the strap around the sacrum as you see here, and then pull the straps from between the legs. And then grab onto the straps with your palms facing forward, long spine, active legs, and pull the straps right to the right, left to the left, so at the very roots of your thighs, the thighs are internally rotating. Lift the low belly, lift the rib cage, engage the legs, and keep pulling with the hands to internally rotate at the roots of the legs. Let the pubic bone release down and lengthen the anterior spine. Now we'll do a variation of Urdhva Hastasana with 2 blocks and a strap. So place 1 block between your feet and place 1 block between your upper inner thighs. And then hold on to the strap with your hands at shoulders distance apart and lift the strap up and overhead. Let the thighs internally rotate and the outer thighs squeeze the block. So the outer thighs squeeze the inner thighs, which squeeze the block, and then lift the low belly up off the pelvis, and lift the rib cage up off the abdomen, lift the back ribs up off of the lower back, stretch the arms up to the ceiling, put tension on the strap, extend the arms and legs fully. Make lots of space and length in your body here, and let the abdomen settle back towards the anterior surface, the front surface of the lumbar spine. So let the front waist move to the back waist. As your arms move back, let the waist move back. Stand right over your arches and lengthen and breathe here. Full extension in the arms and the legs. Create an ascension of the spine from bottom to top, deep inside yourself. Deep breath here, and then lower your arms down. Grab your 2 blocks and we'll practice a simple lunge. So stand at the front of your sticky mat and have 1 block to each side of your feet. And then stand tall right over the arches with energized legs and a long spine. And then bend down and place your hands onto the blocks and step your left foot back into a lunge. And step back far enough so that your right knee is directly over your right heel. Lift the back thigh a lot. And then pull the outer right knee back towards the hip socket. So there's a feeling of that outer right thigh gathering in towards the hip. Lift the back inner thigh up. Gather your outer hips towards each other and lengthen your spine forward. Lengthen the anterior spine. Gather the outer hips in again, especially that outer right hip pulling back and in towards the midline. Lift the back thigh even more. And then step your back foot forward. And step your right foot back now, coming into a lunge. Left knee directly over the left heel, and think of that outer left thigh pulling back from the outer knee back into the outer hip, and then gather that left outer hip in towards the midline. Lift the right thigh, lift the inner right thigh and press back through the back heel. Gather your hips again and lengthen through the front of the spine. Once again, pull that outer left thigh back towards the hip, pulling the left hip back and in towards the midline. And then step your back foot forward. Bring your hands to hips, stretch your chest forward to come up. Now we'll get ready for a deep low lunge with the back knee down, So place a blanket on your sticky mat as you see here, and that will be the padding for the knee that will drop down. And then stand at the front of your sticky mat with a block on either side of each foot. Stand tall in mountain pose. Stand tall in mountain pose with energized legs. And then bring your hands down to the blocks and step your left foot back. Gather the outer right hip back and in. Lift the back thigh up. Lengthen the spine from bottom to top. Long trunk here, long abdomen. And let your hips sink down to be the height of the front knee. And then let your hips sink even further down as you reach the left thigh further back, and then place the left knee down on the blanket and then untuck your back toes. So the front of the shin and the front of the foot and the back leg is resting down on the blanket and the sticky mat, and sink your hips forward and down. So the whole sacrum is relaxing and releasing forwards, and then lift your low belly so that you lift your trunk up and out of the pelvis. Bending deeply in the front knee, pull the outer right hip back. Pull the right femur back towards the hip socket. Pull the outer right hip back and also towards the midline. Gather your hips towards each other. Lift the low belly. Kick the back shin into the sticky mat. And then tuck your back toes under, lift your back thigh, and step your back foot forward. And now step your right foot back, first coming into a simple lunge. Gather the left femur back towards the hip socket. Lift the back thigh. Let your hips come down to be the same height as the front knee. Gather your hips together and lengthen your spine. And then walk your right leg even further back. Extend that right thigh further back. Sink your hips down and then lower the back knee down onto the blanket. And rest the top of your back foot down onto the sticky mat. Kick the right shin down into the ground as you take your hips forward, letting the whole sacrum move forward. The tailbone moves into the body, and then lift your low belly and gather your outer left hip from the outer knee to the hip socket. So the outer left hip gathers back and in towards the midline. Squeeze your outer hips together, lift the deep low belly again, and lengthen through the anterior spine, kicking the right shin down. Bending deeply in the front knee. Smooth breathing here. And then tuck your back toes and lift your back thigh. And step your back foot forward. Bend your knees, relax and release your head down. And then take your hands to hips and stretch your chest forward to come on up. Now we'll practice side angle pose. Start in Tadasana with feet together. And then bring your hands onto your hips and step your feet wide. Have your toes pointing in so the heels are a little wider than toes. Long spine, shoulders back. And then turn the right leg all the way out and the left toes in a little more. Shoulders to the back of the shoulder sockets, long in the waist, and then bend the right knee deeply. Rest the right forearm onto the right thigh and get long from the left heel all the way through the top of the head. So the trunk is on a diagonal here, lengthening in line with the back leg, which is straight and extended. And then lift the left arm to the ceiling to help you open the left ribs. Think of lifting the belly to the ceiling. And think of grounding that right sitting bone forward towards the right groin, so the buttocks is not reaching back behind you. And then take the top arm all the way up and across, gazing at the top hand, and find a nice long line of energy from back heel all the way up through the top hand. And then inhale and lift yourself out of the pose, straightening the legs, hands to hips and change sides, turning the left leg all the way out, turn the right toes even more in, shoulders back, long spine, bend the left knee deeply, rest the left forearm onto the left thigh, and open the right shoulder so that the front of your trunk is pointing straight forward. Long line from the back heel, extended in the back leg, and all the way through the spine, through the top of the head. And then lift the right arm up, lift the belly to the ceiling, open the right ribs, drop the left butt cheek down and under you, and ground the center of that left butt cheek forward towards the groin. Strong in the back leg. Ground the right thigh back in space as you extend the knee, and then take that top arm all the way across so that it continues that diagonal line, gazing at the top palm. Strong in the back leg, very bent in the front knee, lifted in the low belly, and turn the right ribs open towards the ceiling. Gather the left butt cheek more underneath you. And then inhale and come all the way up to straight legs, arms extending to the sides, hands to hips, feet parallel. Recover with an open chest, and then step your feet together, hands on hips, and step your feet wide, heels wider than toes. Ground down through the inner feet, and draw up the musculature of the legs from the ankles to the knees to the hips, and then lift the low belly, lift the waist, stretch the arms out to the sides, widen the collarbones. Take the heads of the humerus bones back in space. In other words, take your shoulders back towards the back of the shoulder sockets, spread wide through the arms, extend your elbows and your knees fully. Take your thigh bones back. Take your inner thighs back. Lift the back ribs. Lift the side ribs and the front ribs. And let the upper buttocks relax down. Breathing here. And then take your hands to your hips and step your feet together. Now we'll practice an upright version of Prasarita Padottanasana. So stand in Tadasana. Take your hands to your hips and step your feet quite wide, and have your heels wider than toes. Draw up through the legs and press your thigh bones back. Lift the low belly. Let the waist settle back. Long in the side ribs. Hook your thumbs and stretch your fingertips forwards and then all the way up overhead. Extend the arms up. Reach the fingertips up. Lift the front ribs, the side ribs, and the back ribs. Press the feet down into the sticky mat and draw up through the musculature of the legs. And think of the shoulder blades pressing forward into the rib cage. Think of deepening the thoracic spine towards the chest. So there's no rounding happening in the upper back here, but rather the shoulder blades are pressing forward to lengthen the anterior thoracic spine. And then exhale and lower the hands down. Change the hook of the thumbs. Bring the other thumb in front. And then stretch the fingertips forward and up again. Again, press the feet and lift the arms. Thigh bones back. Muscles of the legs engaging and lifting. Lift the low belly. And lengthen the front of the thoracic spine. Draw the shoulder blades forward. Arms back and waist back, abdomen lengthening, thigh bones back. Generate a profound internal lift from deep inside yourself, lifting up through the central axis of the body. And then exhale and lower the hands down. Take your hands to hips, shoulders back, long waist, and step your feet together. And now we'll practice Ardha Prasarita Padottanasana, and we'll do this with bent knees. So start in Tadasana and have your blocks ready. Take your hands to your hips with an open chest, lifted spine, and walk your feet out wide, heels wider than toes, legs energized and long, thigh bones back, lifted belly. Stretch your arms out to the sides. Active in the limbs here. Internally rotate the thighs and lift from underneath the heart. Ground through the inner feet and the outer feet, and then take your hands back to your hips, keeping the shoulders reaching back. And now start to bend your knees and fold at the hips. Bring your hands down to the blocks and don't round your back or tuck your pelvis here, but rather deepen the bend of the knees and lift the buttocks way up. Stretch the front ribs forward and let the thoracic spine deepen into the chest. So keep the knees bent here, which will allow you to find a true lift of the buttocks. Stretch the chest forward, extend through the arms, elongate the anterior spine. Stay grounded in the inner feet. And then start to deeply fold down. You can keep your hands resting on blocks and move the blocks closer to your feet. Or if your hands reach the floor, you can rest your weight into your hands a little bit. Staying with knees bent. Lift the buttocks, roll the thighs in. Release and relax the head down. Release and relax the back ribs, side ribs, and front ribs down. Deep breath here. And then hands to hips, bend the knees deeper, stretch the chest forward, shoulders back, and come all the way up, thigh bones back. Lifting the spine, and step your feet together. And now for Supta Urdhva Hastasana. Make sure that the flesh of your buttocks is pulled away from the low back, and then stretch your legs out one at a time and reach your arms up overhead but along the floor, and stretch your whole body out in this manner. Open the feet, open the toes, roll your thighs in and ground your thighs down towards the mat. And pull your rib cage long away from the legs. Lengthen and extend your arms. So pull your legs towards the feet and pull your arms towards the hands. And let your abdomen, let your whole midsection, let your lumbar receive that stretch. Breathing here as you stretch the legs and stretch the sides of your belly, stretch the arms. Relax and release any tension that's unnecessary as you lengthen, and then bend your knees and come back to neutral. Now we'll practice a modified version of Supta Padangusthasana. Be on your back with a neutral spine, neutral pelvis, parallel legs and feet. Have your strap nearby. And then adjust the flesh of the buttocks so that you can pull the upper buttocks away from the lower back. And then rest the pelvis again in neutral and stretch your arms overhead along the floor. Extend your elbows, lengthen through the armpits. Lengthen the whole torso, lengthen the rib cage. And then release your arms back down towards your sides. Grab onto your strap and take the strap around the right foot. And I suggest taking the strap to the upper heel. You can also strap the arch of the foot or the ball of the foot. And then kick your heel up into the strap, but keep your knee bent. See if you can keep your pelvis neutral here. So if you tuck your pelvis, then you won't get as much stretch in your hamstring. Pelvis is neutral, and then the femur bone moves within the hip socket. Kick your heel up. Knee can stay bent, but continue the action of kicking the right heel up. The left foot is supporting you. Roll your thighs in a little bit. Keep a long spine and an open chest. See if you can lengthen the right leg. Open the back of the knee a little bit more. And breathe into the sensations in the back of that right knee and the back of the thigh. And then release and bring the foot back down to the floor and take a rest. And now take the strap around the left foot, strapping the heel or the arch or the ball of the foot, and you'll find that where you strap your foot will affect what's stretching in your leg. So you can experiment with that. And then kick your left heel up towards the ceiling. And again, you can keep the knee bent a little bit, but continue to kick the heel upwards to challenge the back of the left leg to lengthen little by little, gradually. Spine stays long, collarbones stay wide, elbows wide, shoulder blades sliding down your back. Left heel kicking up, thighs rolling in a little bit. Relaxed, receding, long belly. So don't harden or shorten the belly or the trunk, but rather keep the trunk long and relaxed. Pelvis is in neutral. Try not to tuck here. With tight hamstrings, it's easy for the pelvis to just tuck. And then release and place your left foot back down on the floor. Now lay down on your back for a variation of belly rolling. Have a block nearby. And then place the block between your knees, knees over hips. Stretch your arms out to the sides, long extended arms, shoulder blades sliding down your back. And then as you exhale, take your knees over towards your right elbow and they'll hover there. Knees are squeezing the block, and focus on the stretch of the inner arms. Lengthen the collarbones horizontally and slide your shoulder blades down your back and slide your belly to the left. And then inhale your knees to the center and exhale your knees over towards the left elbow. Spread wide through your arms. Press the backs of your hands into the floor. Slide your shoulder blades down your back and slide your belly to the right. Be wide in your collarbones here. Stay active in your arms. Inhale to the center. And exhale your knees over towards the right elbow. Inhale, knees to the center. And exhale your knees over towards the left elbow. Inhale the knees to the center and keep going on your own here. And then bring your feet back down to the floor and rest. Now we'll practice a simple groin stretch. Start on your back with a neutral pelvis, neutral spine, knees bent and feet flat. Legs are parallel, and stretch your arms overhead. Lengthen out through the arms. And then stretch the legs as well and roll the thighs internally so the fronts of your legs point straight up to the ceiling. And be very long in your limbs and in your trunk here, creating length. And then keep that length in the trunk, in the left leg, and bring the right knee towards the chest, towards the right side of the chest, even towards the right armpit. And grab onto the right knee with both hands and clasped fingers. And stay long in the abdomen, long in the spine. Extend long through that left leg, roll the left thigh in, and ground the left thigh bone down towards the floor. And then grab the right knee with your right hand only, as you see here, and start to pull your right knee out to the right. Stretch your left arm to the left at shoulder height, and open up that right knee out to the side. Stay long in the left leg. And play with moving around that right knee up towards the armpit, down towards hip level. And see if you can explore a groin inner thigh stretch here as the right knee opens out to the right. And then bring the knee back to center and pause here. And then stretch your right leg out, lengthening it out as you bring your left knee towards the left side of your chest. And grab onto the top of the left shin with clasped fingers. And pull the left knee towards the left armpit as you stretch the right leg more. Internally rotate, especially at the very top of the right thigh, and ground the right thigh down. Stay awake in your feet, toes spreading. Long spine. Don't let your abdomen become hardened. A receding, long abdomen. Open chest, shoulder blades sliding down your back. And then stretch the right arm to the right as you take the left knee in the left hand only and start to pull the knee over to the left so the knee stays bent. And you open that left knee out to the left, staying active in your right leg. And play with some movement here, taking your left knee up towards the armpit or down towards hip level. Explore the range of motion here as you enjoy the groin opening. Reach the inner right foot forward and take your knee out to the side even more, deepening the stretch. And then take your knee back to the center. And then place your left foot down. Bend your right knee and place your right foot down. And start on your back again here for a simple outer hip stretch. Knees bent and feet flat, starting with a neutral pelvis. And for a moment, take your arms overhead along the floor, lengthen the armpits and the elbows. Extend the spine long and take a deep inhalation. Let the pelvis be heavy and relaxed. Be grounded in your feet. And then take your arms out to the sides and cross your right ankle over your left knee. And let the right knee open out to the right. And then lift the left foot up off the floor, which will bring your whole right leg closer to your chest. And then grab onto the back of the left thigh. So grab onto the hamstring close to the knee with both of your hands. So the right hand will go in the hole between the right leg and the left leg. And think of pressing your right knee away from your chest as you bring the right shin bone towards your collarbones. Press the right thigh away from the abdomen. And breathe into this sensation here. Pull your left knee and right ankle closer into your chest to deepen the stretch. Still pressing the right thigh and knee away from your chest. And then release and come to center, both feet on the mat, arms out to the sides, and cross the left ankle over the right knee, keeping the left knee open. And then start to take the right knee and left ankle towards the chest as you grab onto the right hamstring with both hands. Left arm reaching in the hole between the left thigh and the right thigh. And keep pressing the left knee away from you. And that's happening because the femur is turning in the hip socket. So you're finding a deep external rotation in the hip socket in order to stretch the deep hip rotators. And pull the right knee and left ankle closer into your chest. Stay long in your spine here. Don't harden or push the abdomen, but stay long in the lumbar, long in the thoracic spine. Breathing deeply here. Breathing into the sensations, relaxing into the stretch that you feel. And then release the right foot down and the left foot down. Stretch your arms out to the sides. Relax and lengthen the belly. Rest in neutral. And now lay down on your back for a pose that I call windshield wiper. Have your knees bent and feet flat. Feet pretty wide, wider than the sitting bones. Neutral pelvis, neutral spine. Stretch your arms out to the sides at shoulder height. And then walk your feet even closer to your sitting bones and even wider. And then keeping your feet planted, lower your knees down to the right. And enjoy this gentle twist as the right knee falls more to the right and the left knee falls more to the right. Slide your shoulder blades down your back and lengthen your spine. And feel the position of the pelvis relative to the spine. And feel the position of each femur relative to the hip sockets. And then lift your knees back up to the center, feet staying grounded, and lower the knees over to the left side, letting the femurs move in the hip sockets, letting left knee heavy falling to the left, right knee heavy falling to the left, and enjoy the spinal twist. Get longer in your trunk here as you breathe. And then inhale back to the center and exhale your knees over to the right side. Inhale your knees up to the center and exhale the knees over to the left side. And then inhale back up and continue like this, moving and breathing together. And especially focus on the movement of the heads of the femurs in the hip sockets. Continuing. And see if you can go a little deeper into the pose in the next couple of rounds. And then come up to center. Now we'll practice happy baby pose. So start laying down on your back, knees bent and feet flat, pelvis and spine neutral, long spine, breathing here. And then bring your knees into your chest and have your knees wide. And then kick your heels up towards the ceiling and grab onto the outer edges of your feet with your hands. Kick your heels away from the sitting bones to keep the backs of the knees open and let those thighs hug your outer rib cage. And breathe and relax here, and you can do some playful movements like pulling your right knee down towards the armpit and then pulling the left knee down towards the armpit. Let the lower back release and relax. Press the inner feet up towards the ceiling. Stay long in your spine here. Let the abdomen recede and lengthen, so no hardening or pushing in the belly at all. Bring your knees back towards your chest, grabbing onto the knees. Bring your legs back down, feet coming to the mat. And then start to elongate and stretch the legs and reach your arms overhead. Just creating some length here. Rolling the thighs in, stretching the inner feet forward. Lengthening the belly. Deep breath. And then release. Now we'll practice a lovely, simple version of Supta Baddha Konasana without any props. So lay down on your back and adjust the flesh of your buttocks so it moves away from the lower back. And then bring the soles of the feet together and the knees open. And we'll do this with no support so that gravity is your prop here. Gravity is what's helping you and informing you in this pose. See if you can just surrender your legs to gravity. And let your shoulder blades slide down your back and then stretch your arms out in a Shavasana position so that you can relax here. Let your trunk and spine be long. See if you can breathe here with your whole body. Relaxing the pelvis and the buttocks, relaxing the groins. Feel where your body is making contact with the floor. Contact with the sticky mat. And then start to lift your knees up. You can use your hands to help you if that feels right. Feet flat. And then roll over to your side to come on up. And now come to the floor for a posture that I call neutral. It's a supported neutral position. So make a loop in your strap and step your feet into that loop and then place a block between the feet. And then you'll begin to tighten the strap, but leave enough space so that you can now place the other block between your knees, and then tighten the strap around the centers of your thighs so that your legs are very supported here in a neutral parallel position, thighs strapped together, block between the knees, block between the feet. So you're very parallel in your legs, and then lay down, release the flesh of the buttocks away from the low back and reach your arms overhead along the floor and start to breathe length up and down your trunk. Let the abdomen relax and settle and lengthen. See if you can create length in your belly as you relax the pelvis down. Let your femurs relax and settle. The femurs are the thigh bones. So let the thigh bones relax here as you're all strapped in and supported. And then change the position of the arms into more of a relaxation position. So arms more by your sides, palms facing the ceiling, shoulder blades settled down your back. Relax here as you breathe length into your spine. Smooth, steady breath. And just feel your pelvis here in neutral. So not tucked and not arched, but there's a neutrality to the pelvis, the legs, and the spine here. And see if this neutrality can support an open breath. And so the bottom ribs open just as much as the middle and top ribs as you inhale. And exhale. And then inhale again here. And a smooth exhalation. Continue to bring your attention inside. And then bring your knees towards your chest. Remove the block. Take your legs out of the strap loop. And come out of the pose. Now we'll practice a version of corpse pose called dead man pose. So make a loop in your strap and step your feet through the loop. And then tighten up the strap so that your knees are strapped together fairly snugly. And then start to lay down on your back and set up the flesh of your buttocks so that it's pulling away from the lower back, so the buttocks is releasing towards the feet side. And now make your feet quite wide, so the feet are as wide as your sticky mat, and point your toes in slightly so you're a little bit pigeon-toed. And then slide your shoulder blades down your back and take a nice deep breath in to lengthen your spine and let your arms and hands relax. And just let the femur bones relax here. So the femurs are relaxing into the hip sockets. Smooth, steady breath here. And now start to draw your knees in towards your chest so that you can reach for the strap. Loosen it up a little bit and then take the strap off your legs. And roll onto your side and come on up.